Yo, what is up guys? It is Detox and welcome back to another video. Now today's story is pretty interesting that I'm gonna tell because I know after I told my first time doing X pills, I promised y'all I was gonna tell y'all about the first time I did crystal Molly, and this is one of those stories, but this was at the peak of my Molly usage. See, there was a time, I'd say maybe about 2 months straight, where I was doing Molly at least once a week, if not twice a week, and in pretty large amounts. I was being very generous with how much I was buying and doing. And let this be a PSA for anyone out there who loves Molly like I did. It's easily probably my favorite fucking drug of all time. Do not do this shit multiple times in a month. I'd say keep it to once a month if you're gonna regularly use it, because this shit will fry your brain, and that's exactly what happened to me in this story today. But without further ado, let's get into this motherfucker. So if y'all have seen my other videos, you know I make music. I'm a rapper, I fucking do singing shit, a whole bunch of shit. But one of the ways I would make money, especially after high school, is I would record people. Now, I recorded off a MacBook, and that's how I was able to travel around and do this, because I didn't have my own studio set up at home that I could bring people to, because my parents would just freak the fuck out. Let me tell you guys, all the people I've recorded music for, I'd say 90% of them are fucking sketch bags and like hood motherfuckers who my parents would not be happy if I brought over. Now, that's not to say whenever they went out of town, I didn't have people over to record, because I absolutely did, because it was way better recording at the house than pulling up to some fucking trap. But they were home this weekend, and I had to do what I had to do. It was maybe about noon, 1 in the afternoon, something like that, when I got a text from this guy who I've recorded multiple times, and to be real, he's not one of these crackhead motherfuckers that I usually record. He's actually a really good guy, has a stable job, and he's real nice. I've known him for a while, and I recorded him maybe half a year ago, but this story takes place back around 2020, 2021. I'm not sure the exact time frame. Another perk of recording this guy is, besides that he was nice, is he was a huge fucking pothead. Anytime I recorded him, he would always bring wax, or he'd always have weed for us to smoke, so I'd get super fucking fried and record him. So, when he texted me, I guess we're gonna call him Eric. When Eric texted me, I was fucking ecstatic, because I knew I'd be making money, and I knew I'd be going over there and getting fucking fried. Another thing about Eric is that he loved his psychedelics. I mean, all about acid, all about shrooms. Never really talked to him about Molly until this day, but he was all about it, and he was totally cool with me doing whatever the fuck I wanted while I was at his crib. We text, and the conversation goes on a little bit, and he tells me he's not going to be able to get off work until around 10 or 11 that night. And a con about this is that he lived maybe about an hour away from where I was staying, so I wouldn't be getting there until around 11:30, 12 to actually record him. Yeah, it was a little bit late, but I had nothing to do that night, so I decided, you know what, fuck it. We're going to Eric's crib, and we're fucking recording this guy and having a great time. Now, I already had about $100 to my name. I know, big ballin', you know what I'm saying. Already had about $100 to my name, and I was bored throughout the day, and I didn't know what to do. I could go buy weed, but at the same time, I wanted to save me getting high for the first time when I was smoking Eric's shit, because he always had amazing fucking weed, and I wanted to get blasted. But I did want to bring over some party favors, because I'd feel like a fucking asshole if I just showed up there, smoked his weed, took his money, just to record some half-ass song that I knew was going to end up happening. So I decided to hit up Plugman. Now, I'm not going to give him a name, and I'm probably not going to mention him in any more Molly videos, because I think he's doing real well with his life now, because he quit selling this shit, and that's actually the reason I stopped doing Molly, so I'm pretty thankful for that. But I decided to hit him up, and I'm like, yo, what's up? What you got on the menu today, buddy? And he tells me, gives me the whole fucking menu of all the shit he's got, and I noticed that he has some pink Molly in, and I'm not sure if the color really changes the effects, to be real with you, but he said it was some good fucking shit. He always tested his shit, and it looked really fucking good, so I had to indulge. So, go to Plugman's house, dap him up, all that shit, go inside, ask him how he's doing, grab the shit, and fucking leave. Everything's going well. It's about 3, 4 in the afternoon at this point, so I still have a little bit of time to kill before I go to Eric's house. Now, whenever I would pick up off a Plugman, I would always grab a gram. And I know what y'all may be thinking, dude, for personal use, that's a little bit too much, especially with how infrequently you should be doing this shit. But I knew later in the night, I'd probably hit up some friends after I recorded with Eric, and I'd want to share because, you know, that type of guy. I also went to the gas station, and I was not 21 at this point, but there's this cool ass gas station that had been selling to me ever since I was 16, and I grabbed a case of Natties, you know, tried and true. Say what you will about Natties, but it's like Little Caesars. Cheap as fuck and always reliable. They're never gonna be shit, and they're always gonna get the job done. So, grabbed the case of Natties, headed back to my house, and I just fucking played video games and waited to get that text from Eric to tell me to pull up. Time goes by, and I get that inevitable text. He says, buddy, I'm off of work. You're free to come through. Let me send you the address and you can head my way. So that's exactly what I did. Hopped in the car, drove all the way out to the middle of fucking nowhere, and I make it seem like this guy was living in some fucking trailer park in the middle of the fucking woods or some shit, but he actually had a nice place, and it was on this plot of land. I'm pretty sure it was a duplex, but it was really fucking nice, his section of it. I don't know how many square feet, but it was actually pretty fucking nice. That's what I'm trying to say. I was a little sketched out when I first got there, and keep in mind, this is my first time going to Eric's. I'm not sure if I've been there more than once, but I was a little sketched out because it was in the middle of nowhere, and the driveway to get into his place was weird as fuck. There was like a million fucking trucks outside, but I think he worked on trucks. So yeah, I was freaked out, but once I got inside, everything was good. Dapped up Eric, and I tell him, look, Eric, I know you may not be into this shit, but I got a treat for us tonight if you would like to try some. Eric looks at me at first, and he says, dude, I see the case of beer you got. Of course I'd like to have some beer. I got some over here too if you'd like some of mine. And I tell him, no, Eric, that is not the treat. And I knew you were into drinking because I've seen your private stories that you post 1,000,000 times a day on Snapchat of you drinking. The beer is not the treat, my friend. That is just complimentary to the chef's final dish, I don't know, whatever the fuck you want to call it, that I have right now. And he says, okay, what is it? So I bust out the pink Molly. Eric gives me this weird look, almost kind of like a disappointed father, which I did not expect at all because he had always talked about how much he loved acid and shrooms, and I didn't expect him to be so taken aback by what I had brought to his house. He says to me, look, man, I'm really just trying to have a chill night, drink a few brews, smoke some fucking weed. I got dabs if you want any. I just want to record this song and get it over with. But if you want to do that shit, you're more than welcome to. Just make sure you clean up, don't cause a mess or anything. And I told him, brother, I will respect your home with as much respect I have for my own, probably with even more respect. I would never do anything to fuck up your crib. Let's get this shit going. So I bust out the bag, and my favorite way, my absolute favorite way to consume fucking Molly is to crush that shit up and to pour it in water. Just, you know, simple Molly water. But make sure you have a scale so you know how much you're actually doing. Thankfully, I did this day, and it could have ended bad for me if I got pulled over. The cops would have gotten the wrong fucking idea, but I don't even think my car smelled like weed, so I probably would have been straight. But Molly water, favorite way to consume Molly of all time. So I bust out my scale, bust out the bag, and I get to crushing this shit up. Now, whenever you're doing Molly water, make sure you make it as fine as possible of a grain. Crush it up because one, it tastes fucking disgusting, and two, if you don't crush it up well enough, you can like feel the pieces of it sliding down like your throat and your tongue, and it is absolutely fucking repulsive. Now, on this night, I wanted to pace myself. I didn't want to be rolling dick while I was recording him because I feel like that was kind of disrespectful when he had brought me into his house, asked me to perform a service for him, and if I was too high to fucking record, I felt like that was kind of a dick thing to do. Well, I kind of fucked up in that regard, because I started with a .15, but my dumbass did not wait for this shit to hit me, and it takes maybe like 30, 45 minutes for it to really hit you before you really start rolling. So I started with a .15 in my water, and I just slammed that motherfucker. In about 20 minutes, I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, I'm not really having any come-up anxiety, I'm not really feeling this shit. I'm gonna go get another .05, make it or a .5, okay, all right, how am I gonna, .05, sorry, make it a .2 and see what the fuck happens. Now, as soon as I get another water bottle and I put the tiniest little bit of Molly in there and slam it, I start feeling the come up anxiety. And guys, I get this shit bad. The first couple times I did Crystal Molly, it wasn't like this, but I had been consistently doing this for about a month and a half at this point, and I started to get really nervous that I was going to end up frying my brain or some shit, but I love the feeling of Molly so much that I just wanted to continue doing it. I know, crackhead way to think about it, but I used to get really nervous on the come-ups. All of a sudden, we're sitting here recording this song, and it starts to hit me. The anxiety is flowing in. I start getting these waves of, oh shit, we're going up the fucking roller coaster now. We're about to have a fucking fantastic time. And this is maybe about an hour in of sitting there recording him at this point. Another mistake I made is that I always underestimated Plugman's shit, even though his shit got me right every single time, no matter what variant it was. I underestimated this shit, and I did not think it was going to hit me as hard as it did. Holy fuck. We get about halfway through the fucking song, and I am rolling my ass off. I'm sitting there sweating fucking bullets, and Eric's just looking at me like, brother, are you fucking okay? And I am locked right now. I'm chewing gum. I'm sitting there just smacking away. It was rude as fuck thinking about it now, but sitting there smacking away on my gum, just locked in, fucking recording his ass. And he looks at me and he's like, dude, are you all right, man? Do you need some weed to calm you down or some shit? And I think to myself, you know what? That's probably a good idea. I'm probably not even gonna feel it, but might as well. Why not? So he gets his rig and he gets some wax, and then he packs me it was a small dab. It wasn't even that big of one, but I take it. But it was super fucking hot. And I get the urge, I'm like, oh, bro, I might have to throw up here in a second. But like a man, I choke this shit down, and I just sit there. And I'm just rolling, recording this guy, and I don't know what the fuck to do, because I know in about 20 minutes, when this other tiny little bit hits me, I'm not going to be able to fucking function in that way to be able to record him. So I tell him, Eric, I'm so fucking sorry. I know it's been only like an hour and a half and you booked 3 hours with me, but I am not going to be able to continue. Is there any way that we could resume this at a later point in time? And he is so cool. Eric is such a good guy. He says, yeah, man, I understand completely. It's all good. I'm not mad or anything. I'll pay you what I owe you right now, and you can head on your way and get back to the crib, do whatever the fuck you want to do. Now, since I kind of fucked up this session, I gave him a very generous discount. I think he only gave me like $30 or some shit like that. Usually I would charge $40 an hour if I'm recording at home, but if I'm on the road, it jumps up to like $50, $55, depending on how far away you went. I only made him make me pay me like $20 to $35, somewhere in that range, because I felt so awful about what the fuck I just did. And I get in the car, and this was at the time when that YSL compilation album came out, and I just start blasting the song Ski Bro on the way back on repeat, and I start calling every fucking friend I know, because I'm fucking having an amazing time, bro. It was so fucking fun. Luckily, Jared picks up the phone. Now, I've talked about Jared in other stories, but he picks up the phone and he says, yo, man, what's up? I'm just chilling at the crib right now with a few friends. What do you want to do? You want to pull up? You want to come over? And I say, Jared, buddy, do I have a surprise for you? Let me get there and I'll show you this shit. And he says, okay, if it's any type of narcotic though, or any type of drug, just wait outside in your car and don't tell anyone in the house what we got. And I ask him, I say, why, dude? Like, no one's at your crib right now. It's just you and a few friends. They're not going to give a shit. He says, trust me, bro. Just don't fucking say anything. Just tell me when you pull up and I'll come out to your car. I tell him, all right, bet, let's go. On the drive back, I am just fucking bussing at this point, bro. I'm having such a good time listening to this fucking Thug and Gunna, and I'm just enjoying myself to the max. Windows down, bumping this shit, but I don't realize, hey, you know, you might not want to play music this loud, especially when you're rolling while driving, because you could get pulled over and go to fucking jail. So I eventually do realize this once I get on the main highway to get back to my crib, so I decide to roll up all the windows, just blast the AC and blast the music in the car. I get to Jared's crib, and this is where shit starts to get interesting. I call him, tell him I'm there, and come to find out there's this person that we're gonna call Chris, who's at Jared's house. Now, Chris was an okay guy, but he was one of those selfish ass motherfuckers who just didn't give a shit. And if he didn't get to do what everyone else was doing, he'd throw a fucking fit. There was two other people there. I'm not sure if I've mentioned them in other stories. We'll call them Jason and Nigel. But Chris was the one that we had to worry about, Jared said, because he said if he saw this Molly, he would be begging his ass off to do something and just start acting like a complete fucking tweaker, and Jared did not want to deal with it tonight. I say, okay, Jared, we can just do it here in the car. We don't have to tell anyone we're on this shit. Let's scale it out and fucking do it. So I ask him how much he wants. He says like, okay, just give me a 0.3. I'll save some of it. I'll give you some money if you want. But I was in a great mood already, and I told him, dude, don't fucking worry about it. I got you tonight. I got like a 0.8 left. I'm probably going to do a little bit more, and then I'll be done for the night. So I scale out a 0.5 for us to split. I take some of it. Jared takes some of it. I'm not sure if we accurately split it up fairly or not, but we split it up nonetheless. Now, I had one more water bottle left, so I decided to put my little, I think it was about a 0.15 or a 0.2 in that water bottle, shake it up, and just bring it inside with me and act like I had a water. Jared, on the other hand, has this mini little bag that he puts it in. And as he's doing that, keep in mind, I already put mine in my water, so mine was not visible. And the other extra shit I had was already put up. But keep in mind that Jared had not put his in any water. He was going to put it in Gatorade or some bullshit whenever we got inside his garage. As he's doing this, bagging up the fucking Molly, Chris comes outside and he sees what's happening. And all of a sudden, he just starts fiending, bro. Like, oh my God, he starts begging Jared, please, bro, please let me do some of this shit. I promise I'll fucking pay you back. All this bullshit. And Jared had a bit of a short temper, I'm not gonna lie. Jared just fucking snaps, tells him to shut the fuck up, go inside. They'll figure it out whenever they get inside. So they go in, I follow them, and this is where the funny shit begins, bro. Chris goes inside first, and he's maybe like 6-7 feet in front of us. He's walking fast because he's excited. He's thinking he's going to get to do some Molly. And it's all on Jared at this point because I'm not busting out my extra shit. I'm saving that for a rainy day. There's no way no one's getting that shit off of me. And I'm damn sure not giving him my fucking water bottle. I promise you that. Jared, as we're walking in, he whispers to me because we're behind Chris. He says, do you see why the fuck I told you to keep this shit in the car and not let him see this shit? And I tell him, look, man, I probably should have parked down the street or something. I apologize. He said, no, it's on me. I should have been fucking quicker about it. Let's get inside and see where the fuck this shit goes. And oh my God, did it go. We all go inside. Chris sits down. I dap up fucking Nigel. I dap up Jason. I didn't even dap up Chris yet because he was just fiending so hard for the fucking Molly, and he was begging Jared. And Jared is starting to get fucking pissed because everyone there is shit-faced. They're all drunk. And Jared's real into like classic rock and shit like that. Not sure if he is now. I haven't really talked to him about music in a minute, but he loves rap and all that shit, but he also loves classic rock. And as we walk in, it's so funny, bro. As we're sitting down, the song Crocodile Rock comes on by Elton John. And buddy, Jared's so excited to do this shit. He starts pouring it up, crushing it. Chris is sitting there begging him, but Jared's just ignoring his ass. And he's fucking singing the song along with it, like doing this funny ass dance. And I was cracking up. So was Jason and Nigel. That shit was funny as hell. Jared finally does the Molly, and he has a little bit extra because I did pack him a little bit fat. I gave him the bigger pile, if you could say, when we split up this Molly because, you know, he's my homie. Want to hook him up. He's a good guy. I've known him ever since middle school. That's my guy. So I gave him the little bit extra. And there's a little bit extra sitting on the table, and it's just out. It's out of the bag, just sitting on top of the bag, and Jared starts sipping his Gatorade with the Molly in it. This is where a kind of therapy session begins, bro, because Chris is sitting there and he's starting to get pissed because he feels like Jared isn't letting him have fun like he is. Now, I've heard Chris has actually changed and become a lot nicer of a guy, but back then he was real angry about some shit. I don't fucking know what, but he was so fucking pissed. And maybe 45 minutes go by. Keep in mind, I'm sipping on this water too. I got it about halfway done. So I am rolling fucking dick at this point. And this is where Jared starts to come up, and it's starting to hit him too, because he put quite a good bit in his fucking Gatorade. I'd say, just by eyeballing it, it was a little bit over a 0.2, so he's starting to feel this shit as well. And we're sitting there, and Chris is just fuming. It is so fucking funny to me. I'm dying. We got good-ass music playing. I'm just laughing with Jason and Nigel, having a good time talking to them. They didn't do any of this shit, so they weren't worried about it at all. They were just sipping a few beers, but Chris is getting pissed, and Jared's just sitting there, and he's starting to have a good time. All of a sudden, Chris just says, I don't know what the fuck he was thinking, but in his mind he said, fine, you're not going to give me any of this shit? He licks his fucking thumb, puts it in the fucking Molly that's sitting on the bag, and just like gums the shit, bro. And I was like, what the fuck? And you just see Jared's face. His mouth is wide open, and now he is fucking mad. And Chris just gums the shit or swallows it or something. I don't know how the fuck he did this with a straight face, because like I said, this shit was putrid. It was fucking disgusting to the taste, and he just does it. And Jared goes the fuck off on Chris. Jared proceeds to say something along these lines. I don't remember exactly, but he says something like this. Chris, this is why nobody fucking likes you. Nobody ever invites you to hang out, because you're always doing this stupid fucking bullshit. And then Chris is just screaming, saying some incoherent shit. I think he realized he fucked up because Jared is so mad. He's getting ready to throw him out the house if they don't start throwing hands. I mean, it was that bad. And Jared is just going in on him, telling him he's fucking worthless, telling him he isn't shit, telling him that he needs to get the fuck out right now. And just goes off. And Chris is trying to defend himself. He's like, bro, you weren't going to give it to me anyway. I just said, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll pay you back for this shit, bro, I swear. And it is so fucking crazy. Me, Nigel, and Jason are just sitting there watching this unfold. And we are like, what the fuck just happened? Because that was some of the most foul shit I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen someone just lick their thumb, put it in someone's Molly. They didn't even pay for it, didn't even have permission to do it, and he just puts it in his fucking mouth and eats that shit. Now, around this time, I finish up my water bottle, and I'm rolling so hard. Keep in mind, this is the most Molly I've ever done in my life, and I would not recommend this to anyone. I was about off of 0.4, maybe a little bit less, but I was rolling so hard. My brain was fried. I had double vision, and it was just a shit show. I didn't know what the fuck I was watching. I didn't know if I was even watching something that even happened, bro. I didn't know if I was fucking hallucinating. I was kind of tweaking out at this point because the vibes were killed. Jared turned off the music. Everyone was kind of like, what the fuck do we do now? And I'm just sitting there rolling my ass off, sweating so hard. It was honestly fucking terrible after this point. Jared and Chris argue for about 30 minutes. It's like a therapy session, bro. Jared is just telling him everything that's fucking wrong with him. And Chris tries to talk shit back, but there's not really anything you can say to defend yourself after you do something like that. So it goes on for about 30 minutes, and Chris finally leaves. He's like, you know what, fuck this, I don't need any of y'all, and then he just fucking walks out. And Jared's just sitting there, annoyed as fuck, but he's starting to roll, so he's still in a talkative mood. And we talk about the situation for about 5 minutes. Jared says, see, this is why I can't fucking hang out with this guy. He always does this bullshit. He's always stealing alcohol, stealing some shit, never fucking asks. He's not polite about it at all. He said maybe if he was actually polite and he wasn't fiending so hard, I would have given him some. But the fact he just did that shit proved my point exactly. And me, Nigel, and Jason are agreeing with him because that shit was absolutely fucked. Time goes by and we're sitting there for maybe about another 20 minutes. And Jared has the beautiful idea of going to the local elementary school and playing basketball on their outside court. Now, I don't want to include this part of the story, but I kind of have to. And this is where shit starts to wrap up for real, because I kind of ruined the night, not gonna lie. I was off so much Molly. We go to Jared's car, and the elementary school's like 3 minutes away, and it's all back roads to get there, so it's not a big deal going there or driving there when you're fucking rolling. I mean, it's literally right down the road, but I kind of fuck up the night at this point, because we all get in the car, we have the basketball, and Jared's about to get in the car, but all of a sudden I feel like I have to yak, and I cannot hold this shit in, and I had already closed the car door. So I try to go as fast as I can to open the car door, and keep in mind, I'm in the back seat, and I felt so bad after doing this. I apologize to Jared so much, bro, but he didn't even give a shit after I did this because he was so mad at Chris. I threw up all over his fucking car door, man, and it was like projectile vomiting. It was actually kind of scary because I had taken so much, I didn't know what the fuck was happening, and I just threw up all over the door. And Nigel and Jason are like, what the fuck? And they hop out of the car real fucking quick because it was disgusting, man. I felt horrible about it. Jason comes over and he just sighs and he says, you know what, I'm going to clean this shit up, and then I think I'm going to go inside for the rest of the night. And I'm just apologizing to it. I'm saying to him, bro, I'm so fucking sorry. Let me clean it up for you, all this shit. He says, no, man, you're good. You gave me this shit. I'm not even mad at you. This night was not meant to be. And I kind of agreed with him. And after that, we all said goodbye, went our separate ways. I didn't dap anyone up because, I just threw up. It'd be kind of nasty. I just said bye to everyone. And yeah, that's the end of this fucking story. Crazy fucking time. A little bit of a safety announcement at the end of this video. Don't ever do more than like a 0.2 of Molly. The reason I did so much is because I'm 6'6". I was around 220 at the time. So a pretty big guy. So I thought I could handle it. And even then, I could not handle that much. And my brain was absolutely fucking fried, guys. Please be careful when you're doing this shit. And remember, don't act like fucking Chris. That guy was a dick back then. But I've heard he's changed, so shout out to him. Anyways, though, guys, I really hope you enjoyed the video today. If you enjoyed this story, please comment suggestions of new games for me to play so I can show y'all more background footage. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that bullshit, and I will see y'all in the next one. Have a great rest of y'all's week.